morning strangers say hello to me. Tomorrow they name so they carved me on the stone. We're going home and I'm a terrible liar. Forgive me, that's not the art of prayer. For the sake of the day, keep crying out. Swing the soul, swing the soul, swing the breaking soul down. Hellfire, hellfire, bring it on, buster. Hellfire, 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 hellfire. All of them are going down with us. Those who dream of heaven. Those who dream of heaven never last very long. The running flash and dirty sky infect my wounds. Forgive me, just get me out of this hell. For things that the day keep crying out. Swing the soul, swing the soul, swing the breaking soul now. I will see that way, limbs can't hear my commands, but still I can't see the way. Oh, I am the reaper, took my place in the world, that's why I have to go. I've been down, tell me out, who can say that I'm just a lonely narrative soldier. I've been down, tell me out, who can say that will I be on the right side of history. I've been down, tell me out, who can say that I can hold on today, yeah. I've been down, tell me out, who can say that people are looking for souls on the monsters. Bring it on, you bastard! Hellfire, hellfire, bring it on, bastard! Hellfire, 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 hellfire. All of them will call him down. Hellfire, hellfire, bring it on, bastard! Hellfire, 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 hellfire. All of them are going down with us.
Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon. I write games for fun. What are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be looking at a game. We're going to be looking at a few games actually. Something that's been, I wouldn't say necessarily like been bothering me, but like it's been getting mentioned a few times in my Discord a few times. So it's like, okay, let's actually take the time and look at this game. Let's buckle up and let's do it. And that game is Nova. Nova in particular. Nova is a Lumen game. Now, for those who don't know what Lumen is a, if I go here, and if I open up the right fucking window, well, Lumen is a game. Actually, I should say Lumen RPG is a generic system, I guess you would call it at this point. And Yeah, this Lumen is a simple game, or simple SRD. I thought I had it already installed, but I will just literally download it right now because this game it's not really a game per se. And Lumen, I want to save, show me the folder which it is located in, and then let me, right here. Lumen is written by this man, Spencer Campbell. Now, who is Spencer? Who is Spencer? Let's ask ourselves. Well, Spencer is, if we go here, if we go, I said I want to go over here, I want to click on, Spencer is Gila RPGs. This is his particular thing, and this is how he operates. And he's done a few games, and he's done a few things that I've been relatively fascinated by, because he's an odd duck. He's an odd duck in more than a few ways. What games has he done? Well, he's done Nova, which is inspired, well, not inspired by, it's partially inspired by Warframe and things like that. It's a mech game though, but we'll get into why it's not really a mech game. Slayers, which is all about like being like Diablo. Light is literally Light. We're gonna go over a little bit of Light as well. Light is quite literally just Destiny. It's just Destiny. That's all the game is. If you think it's anything other than Destiny, you are sorely mistaken. Slayers is supposed to be like Diablo, kind of. It kind of has that same idea. Also by Lumen, and it did win Best Rules for some fucking reason. It'll be groundbreaker for Best Rules. I never heard of it. Let's see the other things he's done. He's done this game called Dust, which is about Slayers. We don't need that anymore. Seasons, which is a Feywild, House Masks, Corvid Court. Yeah, these other big game that he did was Corvid Court. I actually have Corvid Court, and that might be its own game. That might be its own case to go over because it's a little bit weird, and it might be interesting to go over it. Score, which is kind of its own thing, and Rigged, which is a solo journaling RPG. As usual, God, I hate solo journaling RPGs. They're not like I don't know why people are like, we need them. These are a few of his other like little quick games. I'm like, okay. This man he has 55 patrons. Doesn't actually tell us how much money he makes. I'm assuming it's a little bit of money because he keeps doing this. And one thing that he does do quite frequently, in fact, is one of his, you could argue to be his claimed one of his big things, is he streams a lot. He's like me, as he is the person who streams his design philosophy sometimes. Unlike me, though, he's not racist toward the Polish people. And he is a little bit safe. He only does like little streams, just going over like the basics of it, rather than like going over like all the minute details of it. His big thing was Lumen, though. Lumen is when I first heard about him. And this was his, I would say Lumen was the thing that kind of put him on the map, you could say. The other thing that put Gila on the map was, let me see if I can find it again. Warframe RPG Frame Kickstarter. I wonder if this will pop. He also did a game, put it on Kickstarter, called Frame, which was a Warframe-inspired tabletop RPG. As you can see here, it's maybe a little bit more than inspired, and people noticed that quite a bit. Actually, they noticed that it was a little bit more than inspired, you could say. And sometimes that's okay, other times it's a little bit painful. And the Warframe community collectively, and I will say this in the most elegant way possible, shat on it. I mean, just shat on that game. Like, holy shit. Like, oh yeah, by the way, I never saw any of that chat for some reason because YouTube just didn't show it to me. Hello, talking about games, Mr. Y, Varric and company, yeah. Hi, everybody, by the way. YouTube just didn't bother to show me that. Yeah. This is... Nova is $20. Now, the solo journaling is for a very certain kind of person. Nova is $20. Slayers is $15. Light, luckily, is free, but he also pulled what I would almost call the most gamer move available. And I mean the gamerest gamer move possible. The move that baffled my brain when I learned about it. This man made a season fucking pass for his games. For $10, or 10 USD, you can buy Light Season 1 Spark, which came with new options, new play with some different things, and that's what you got for $10. You got all of these. You want some more? Want the fuel? You want the forge? You want the Kindle pages? It's all there for $10. Then he has Eclipse, which was Season 2, which also contained things like this, which I was like, what? It kind of like my brain kind of frazzled there for a second, because he put in things it's like, oh, major locations across Seoul, pick wisely because you're the beacons, not the guardians. 3 new classes. Final strike to end your campaign with. And like my brain after I saw it. Now, Mr. One, you may say, like, why doesn't he do that? Because what he did was that you were to buy it, and he would release the control spreads and pages. And then about a week or two later, he would release the Nove spreads and pages. Then he would release the Dusk spreads and pages. Then the Lightfall spreads and pages. That's what he would do. It was literally a season pass. He would make it as you go. You would pay $10 to get piecemeal everything. And that was like, what the fuck? It's one of those moments you look at and you're like, what the fuck are you smoking? like my mind refused to like process it. Like my brain was like, what? No. This isn't how this works. But he did, and that's what he chose to do, was unleash it as this method. So, Gila is a fascinating creature, and he's... Yeah, you missed the season pass talking about games. You missed the... Because, yeah, as I was kind of explaining, he released Light's 2 expansions as season passes, in which you would pay $10 and get a little piecemeal stuff every few weeks. My brain hurts sometimes thinking about it. Because we're going to look at the game, mind you. I don't think we're not going to look at the game. We're going to look at the game. But the game isn't much. There isn't much, actually. There really isn't. But and I know, the thing is, like, I know people bought these. I know people put out $10 for what amounts to a few, like, little things. And, like, you see all these, like, people obviously put forward these, like, money for this. And people have been using Lumen for a while now. And you see a few of these, like, here's the third-party content, because that's what he really wants you to do, make third-party content. And all of these are free. Oh, this is $5 for this one. Wow. And for 2 megabytes, paying $5 dues for what amounts to be about 3 pages. And it's like, okay, what else you got here? And the answer is not much. Not much. I am it confuses me. This man confuses me to no end. And I have made an oath to everybody that I'm not going to be the person. I'm not going to do things like this. I'm not going to be like, here's $20 and I'm going to get you jack shit. Like, that's not my my jam. However, he also put out the Nova Jam. What's Nova Jam? Well, you can create anything you want for Nova. Sparks, mechs, enemies, missions, creator kit. You can build with everything. I encourage you to put your price on your work. You're comfortable doing so. If you do, you use community copies as an option. All right. The man is charging you $20 for you to make content for him effectively. Encourage hater bigotry have no fucking place here. Unfortunately for everybody involved, I'm here now. And you know me and my rigid hatred of the Polish people. Now, there have been some submissions, and like these are all third-party content. People have put money up for these, and I look at these and I'm like, are people actually buying these? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Are people buying these? And how can I get in to steal the money? Like, how do I work myself into this community and just take money from people because I am a selfish boy, and I have no soul. And with my complete lack of having a soul, where do I sign? Rules like combat focus, power fantasy, power with the illuminated by Lumen. Did I stutter, Varric? Did I stutter? I meme when I say I hate the Polish people. I'm memeing, by the way. Now the Italians. No. Every now and again, I will just come up with a random person, and that's the person I hate. Like, congratulations. It was the Italians last week. It's the Polish this week. Delicious. Now, he is going to be putting out something called Light Beacon, which is supposed to be, you could say, have you been inside the Merchants Guild, Mr. Y? Have you been there? I've seen shit you wouldn't believe. But are they all evil or foolish? They're Polish. That's all you need to know. He's putting out something called Light Beacon. Now, Light Beacon is going to be Light 2, but also kind of Lumen 2. Because Lumen, his generic system, is light. But light slowly morphed into Lumen. And Lumen it's very confusing. It's a messy world. It's a messy world we live in. And of course G-Man's German. Yeah, that makes sense actually, unfortunately. So, celebrate the badass mech-filled RPG Nova. So, what is Nova? What is Lumen? But I think that, like, to explain Nova, I have to kind of go over Lumen. Lumen is simple. You know, it's a system agnostic. You can use it, and you can choose it, and it's a very simple game. D6 dice only. Grab a D6. Like, okay, what's the core mechanic? D6 dice. Well, all right. 3 attributes. Is acting and risk that action. They roll dice. D6s. and they take the highest result. On a 1 to 2, they fail, and there's a consequence. On a 3 to 4, you succeed, but there's a complication. In a 5 to 6, you succeed with no problems. Talking about games, G-Man is a special creature. G-Man is a very special creature. Can I play an app if I'm not called Kate? I guess you can. That's like, you roll 3d6, you take whatever the highest is. That's what the entire game is. And everything that isn't that is not present. One of the odd things is what he wants to do with the super hyper advanced Beacon edition, the newest edition, what he wants to do is that he actually wants to remove failure as an option. And what I mean by he wants to remove failure as an option, he wants 1 to 2 being the action succeeds but there is a heavy consequence. Now, anyone with about 3 brain cells can kind of see there may be a problem with this system, and what I like to call vague rules. Which is to say, there aren't any rules here. These are just like suggestions almost. Like, what does a consequence look like? What does a complication look like? Like, they tell you about that, but it's also not, because that's not the point. It's like Guardians, Overwatch. Don't forget, it's Overwatch. Don't forget it's Diablo, because he's very inspired by video games. Everything is video games. And, as a necessary component, why? Combat game. Losing your health doesn't mean you're dead. Oh no. It's a interesting game, because the big thing is you have powers, unique actions that can make them special. Spend a resource. What the resource is doesn't matter. Don't think about it too hard. And discuss, and that's to do with a resource. And it's like, okay. Light. Beyond using powers, light allows the character to resurrect when they die. Reroll attribute rolls and shrug off a huge amount of damage. Alright. Powers. So each class has 3 to 5 powers. The big thing is power fantasy game with a lot of fighting. It's not fun. Combat towers that take hours to complete. You only have 3 to 5 options to choose from. It takes seconds rather than minutes. Why not use Lumen to play Lost Vikings? Sliding down the door slammed your hat. Oh, PBTA. Tag my friend. I've shat on PBTA enough in my life, and I have multiple things to say about PBTA, which I'm not a fan of it. It's like PBTA works for very certain situations, but it's like, oh god, sometimes I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of PBTA for a variety of reasons, but this game, I always have to ask myself, what is the history of this game? Does Lumen exist? Here's the thing: does Lumen exist without PBTA? I don't think so. I don't think Lumen can be created, especially in a vacuum. Mostly when we get to how the powers look, because this is from Light. Hurl 3 hammers, wreathed in flame, deal 2 harm each. Really, next for your next 3 attacks, at lightning speed, double all harm done at melee range. Okay, you have all these powers and stuff, and these are only very certain powers that only certain classes have access to, which I'm not usually a huge fan of these ones. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's funny. We have a funny one in here. Everybody look, it's Frame. From Frame. What the fuck? He still has Frame and stuff in Lumen. That's hysterical. He doesn't talk about Frame at all anymore. Frame is a no-no. And because Frame is a no-no, we can't talk about it anymore, but it was Warframe. But yeah, he has Frame in here. I didn't even realize that. Optional character features. And then a lot of these, I've gone over a few, I've looked at a few Lumen games, and I've been trying to find other ones to fill out. And for a while there, Lumen was supposed to be... I know he does, Varric. And that's why I always like talking to him every time he shows up. He's a very nice man, and you should definitely subscribe to him. Subscribe to Talking About Games, everybody. He makes very good content. I've looked at a few Lumen games, and a lot of those Lumen games are either very light or they are very simple. And it's like, oh, it's a power fantasy. It's a power fantasy. I'm like, bitch, most games are power fantasies. It's like, okay. This is where things get a little bit weird. It's like, fast and lethal, drawn out turns, rounds and turns, player turns, and then enemy turns. And you roll that 1 to 4, consequence or complications. Change the battle, generate drops. What? Enemies are going to get their asses kicked again and again, they'll go down quietly. We're a big change to the battlefield, you should encourage this. Lots of options, alarms, switches their tactics, new enemy types, oh no, changes suddenly. Have to change their tactics. Drops. Yeah, you get drops in this game. It's this very bizarre. What the fuck? This method of this theory of game design makes me want to, and I affectionately call this fucking kill myself. That's what I want to do. I want to fucking kill myself with this game design already. Like, holy shit. Just gotta yeet me out of the... Yeah, like, they're drops. Like, literally, these are drops. Like, you... range, harm and death, combat your own, the action economy, and a lot of these are pretty simple. Like, a lot of these are, like, Lumen never, really spoke to me. Like, Lumen never did. Like, because it just kind of felt, it felt weird to deal with Lumen. Because it felt like the game wasn't like, this isn't really supposed to be a game that I play. Like, is this like a game I'm supposed to be playing, or is it like just a theory? Is it like a theory of a game? Like, just pure theorem of like, this is what a game could be like. So, now we kind of got what that is. And this is light, mind you. This light is literally 2 pages. It's free, but remember, to get other classes and other things, to actually, like, make the game actually entertaining to play, it's $20 to get everything you want. And when they say, like, oh, here are the powers, when you say, I want to play a Colossus, congratulations, here is literally how you play a Colossus. These are your 3 powers. Do you want more? Oh, you want to play a Stalker, then? Oh, well, here's your 3 powers. You want to play a Witch? Here are your 3 powers. Somebody is going to love these. Like, makes more fucking sense. This whole ass rule. Literally rules light game. Yeah, it's literally a rules light game. Whoever made this game sounds like the kind of person who bitched about lack of easy mode on games that complains that eventual easy modes are easy. I don't understand the theory. Like, again, the theorem behind this game kind of is designed as a modular. These core rules with more releases. It's like it's one of those things, like, I look at it and my brain, like, refuses to function. It's like, no. No, 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 no. I know. This is no. You don't do this. This isn't right. This isn't correct. But it is correct. But this is Nova. $20. 20 USD for a 80-page book. I'm going to be using the spreads version because some of the artwork is in spreads. But again, this game is illuminated by Lumen. Gila RPGs. This came out, I think this came out about 2 months ago. 2 months ago, yeah. Yeah, this game came out about 2 months ago. Actually, relatively soon. And what I've been hearing about Nova. Now, this is from a member on the Discord. It had a 5 USD discount at one time. Yes, when it first came out on sale. It did have a sale of $5. Now, the odd thing with this one, and I've been hearing about this from people who are Gila, well, fans of Gila, or people who really like Gila, or have been following his stuff for a while now. The odd thing with this is that everything is power driven, one, and the game almost oh god, it had another sale, that's sad. And the game is, again, incredibly power driven, so when it says those 3 to 5 powers, that's it. That's like all you're pretty much doing. And the game plays itself. And it was like, oh, okay then. Like, what do you mean? What's going on? So I haven't looked into this. I just got this today. So 4 6-sided dice, all right. Printed character sheet, all right. Rolls at the table. Sparks, solar fuel exosuits. Okay, they're exosuits, not mechs. Very different, everybody. Remember that. Very different. So one player would be the GM. Okay, so giving the Sparks objectives, describing environments and enemies of those missions. Get opposition for them to overcome. All right, okay, so the sun exploded, nearly wiped out. The moon was stuck in the sky. The sunwell. Hundreds of years later, shards of sun planted themselves on our surface and cooled. I don't think that's how the sun works. I don't think that what would happen if the sun exploded. I think we would die if the sun exploded. I don't know about you all. Okay, here's the thing. What I mean by it plays itself, it's not necessarily in the traditional way of just like sitting there and being like, well, we already kind of have everything planned out. There doesn't need to be players tier. That the game, like, you crash into each other, you roll some dice, and then it's over. There's barely any options for the players actually do. That's what I've been hearing, but I want to prove it to myself. It's like, that's why I have the book open right here, and that's what we're going to be going through today. Oh god, is this guy a spirit scientist? No. No, he isn't. I think he just wanted it to sound cool. I honestly think that's what because come on, Nova's a pretty cool name, not gonna lie. Like, yeah, Nova. I'm like, cool. Mostly when your main game is called Lumen or Illuminated. So Nova, all right, that works. Like, all right. I mean, the lore's already kind of fucking stupid, but let's Runes of Oldors, Technology of Nutera. So you are those sparks. Filled with ruins, suit up, it's time for Bring a New Dawn. Alright, let's do our rules, everybody. Conversation between Sparks and the GM. The game goes back and forth. No one's arrested by it. Attempt something, and successful with failure. They must roll the dice. Roll dice when attacking enemies, attempting to persuade stubborn characters, slipping past guarded outposts, or other high-stakes situations. When Sparks act, there's no risk, there's no need to roll. It's okay. Alright, that's simple enough. Equal to an attribute, which is sun, moon, or shade. Don't worry, everybody. Nova sounds like a superhero name. Yeah, it does. Isn't it a superhero? Like, welcome to Weekend Warriors, where I'm allowed to do this. I'm allowed to go off a Nova superhero. I could have swore Nova's a superhero. Yeah, Nova is a superhero. He's from Marvel. Yeah, I remember. He had a comic come out, and everyone shat on him because he sucked. Oh, yeah, because Nova's fucking Green Lantern, but lame. Like... That's Nova. Green Lantern, but lame. So yeah, pretty standard. This is the core mechanic. Consequences, trip to learn, damage the console, enemies dealing harm to the sparks. Okay, so you have to roll four. So you have to effectively roll a 3, a 4, a 1 to 4, and you to actually take damage. All right. So for example, flank sparks, boxing them into a corner. All right. All right. We're making progress. Our attributes. Are you ready for our attributes? Pilots resolve action when they're acting on the field. Numerically, okay, that's pretty standard test. So Sun, which is powerful, destructive, sweeping actions. Moon, which is quick, reactive, and dangerous actions. And Shade, practice, patient, methodical actions. Okay, those are stats, all right. Okay, so we haven't. Kate is back, everybody. Kate is back. Yeah, New Nova's a kid, I think. So let's see. Scouting class spark designed to seek and destroy enemies of the dusk. Would leap across the chasm with notice timing it where the lunar hounds. Oh Jesus. That the moon action. Well, I wonder why. Quickly acting during the moment. She has a 3 for moon, so 3d6. A total success. Oh no. Oh, that's so you're pretty much only going to be rolling about 3 to 4 d6s at any one time. So we got our attributes, our health, all right, our fuel, and our flare. Our powers. Oh, unique abilities to the spark. Collection modification to use to customize the sparks. Okay. You have unique powers, passive and active. P always are in effect. Slash passive allows harm any close enemy at the start of their turn. One of them has the power to activate their hunter power, hurling a flaming spear at a far enemy. Well, these power can be used at any time. They're typically used during combat encounter. During combat, all right. Combat. Okay, we are on page 6. we are on page effectively 7 and 8. Cool. Like, once every spark. So anything choose to do during the action. An action is typically using a power, interacting with the environment, like hurling a torn piece of machinery at an umbral prophet. That's definitely a word. Alright, article about Lumen, this whack-ass system. Okay, so movement isn't measured. Instead, abstract range during a turn. Movement allows the spark to move 1 range unit. Okay, what's range units? I'm not close, near, far, beyond. Okay, so pretty much close, near, and far. If you're beyond, you're just leaving. You're just not there. Though, these ones are get a little bit messy. Because what's going to happen, here's the thing with this. And this is one thing I've learned more often than not when I use range bands, is let's say enemy 1 is here, while this character, so character A, may be near them, while character B is going to be far from them. However, when things get a little bit messy is when you start introducing multiple enemies to things. Because an enemy might be here, in which, enemy 2 might be here, which technically character A would still be near, but character B would be near to enemy 2, but far from enemy 1. Keeping track of all of them can sometimes get a little annoying. So that's just like a little note for everybody who ever wants to make their own game. Just note that. Just make you understand. It sucks. It's a pain. People die when they're killed. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Y. Thanks, Shiro. I never knew. So, game's turn, their own term, using powers. Powers ability that are unique to each spark. Each spark has 1 passive power, 4 active powers. Okay, I mean, at least they have some powers. Any flare mods. Harm and health. Subtracted from their health. When a character takes harm, it's subtracted from their health. Enemies 0 health or dead. Spark's health is 0. They go supernova. Oh, they go supernova. Sparks that go supernova. Use their supernova power. Why don't you just say, okay, why don't you say when a spark's health reaches 0, they can use their supernova power? Unless this is like a specific term. Dormant's ally may spend action to bring them back to half their health and fuel rounded up. Do I have to pay anything for this? So is it more optimal to die when I have low fuel than get brought back up to half? Like, oh yeah, that... very slim. There's no room for killing a spark. Death should be the only possible table of signs that they want those sort of stakes in the game. Make sure that the dying spark goes down a blaze of glory, not unlike the destruction of the sun. Oh no, they don't have a way to actually die. Alright, see ya talking about games. Alright, so... yeah, it's another one of those games where you can't die. Alright, Poggerinos. Keegan. Keegan is not a name. I refuse to believe Keegan. Oh, that's a weird name. Lunar Cultist, a Thai Scorch Spark. Far to move to get closer and far to near. And they use Pyre Finisher power. Finisher allows Pyre to deal 1 harm to every injured member within near range. They mark one field to activate a power and describe dashing between each cultist. The fire of their sword raging and melting them one by one. And for each spark is a turn, choosing one enemy per spark and activate one of its moves or deal harm. Then describe meaningful change to the fight. So generate drops. So for every enemy killed, you roll a d6. Could decide who wants the drop generated. The drops that aren't claimed disappear after the GM's turn. And the mission continues. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's get ready to forge our spark! Sounds like a fucking children's cartoon movie. It is cold outside, actually. I don't want to go out. So sparks the following pen. Give yourself a call sign. Program your spark. Starting value 1, 3 attributes. Up to 4 points. Increase your attributes. Cannot go to 4. Have a spark starting health and fuel values of 2. So you get to actually see what you want to increase, whether it's this or... okay, I mean, that's fine. Sparks have a flare system to modify themselves with. Flares are mods that provide ongoing benefits and change the way Spark's powers work. Choose any 2 flare mods. Create a pilot. Okay, so your pilot literally means nothing. Okay, cool. Pilot sucks. Go away. Yeah, this is what people were talking about when it comes to like some of the designs on these. That's why I say these aren't mechs, really. These are warframes. These are warframes, everybody. They are literally just warframes. Yeah, this is just something we gotta deal with. Wait a second. Okay, so you have a passive ability, so that's always active. Solar Blade, deal 1 harm to close enemy at the start of your turn. Dash, single out your target, dash, charge toward them to an enemy at close range. So you move before activating dash. Singe. Solar Blade, deal 1 harm. Streak across the ground like wildfire, dealing 1 harm. Tracer round, hurl a flaming spear at a farm, dealing 1 harm. Instantly teleport next to that enemy. Alright. Supernova, firestorm, enemy at range, but close range, to deal harm equal to your sun plus moon. So, what this is telling me is that you jack up sun and moon. That's what you do. So, persistent mods. Are these always on? Okay, what? Tell me about the mods then. So, did I miss something? Okay, so let's just do this as an example. I want to make a spark, and we're going to be our call sign, obviously, we're going to be Notepad, because that's who we are. And let's see. So we have our 3 attributes, which is going to be sun, moon, and shade. Sun, moon, shade. And everything always has 1 in it, so that's just kind of default. And each spark, so our spark has a starting health of 2 and a fuel of 2. And let's just say we have, we got spend up to 4 points, up to 4. So we're gonna say sun to, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This. Okay, so this is just where we're going to actually spend up to 4 points, not 6 points. So we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So just actually, there we go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do 3, 3, 1. It's like deal 1 harm to a close enemy at the start of your turn. So I'm assuming that's like an option, which the idea being that you, at the start of your turn, you just deal 1 damage to an enemy that's close by. And I'm assuming you have the option of saying no or yes if you want to do that. I think that's fine. So we've got our call sign. So persistent mods. I don't know what this mods do. Like, are these just permanent? Because it says power mods. Do I just add the mods to something? Am I missing something? Actually, equip flares. Each spark has a flare system to modify themselves with. Choose any 2 flare mods and add them to your character sheet. Okay, so I'm assuming these are our flares. Okay. That's brain no want work. That's silly. That doesn't. Why aren't they called flare? Fuck it. No. So here, Scorch. Yeah, Scorch. Look at this warframe. I think somebody has. Yeah. Warp the resources of your enemies. Once returning, you can change a drop from one type to another. That is really sad. That is a sad and miserable experience of a passive. Let's see. Enemies take 2 harm. So, okay, here's one thing to note. Here's one thing to know about your powers. You have no actual weapons currently. You have no ability to just say, I'm going to want to do damage, because you're encouraged to use a power every turn. However, your power every turn is going to cost you fuel, so you're constantly wanting to use fuel. At most, you're going to have only a couple bits of fuel compared to your health. Unless... Okay, so let's see. My active powers engulf, wreath, and flame until one turn. Erupt, column of flame bursts from the ground. Deal 2 harm to target within near range. Snuff out, kindling. Alright, so... Again, I'm assuming these are flares. And I get to choose 2 flares when I feel like. And what I'm assuming what I can do with these is I can check, say, oh, I want to have this flare and this, like, I want to have this flare and this flare or something, because what the fuck? Okay, that's kind of weird. Well, didn't mean to do that. Zoomed out a little bit too much. So the Voyager. So let's see. Mark. Find your foes. Seek micro explosives percent hurtling through the air. Choose 1 marked enemy. They take +1 harm. Fire salvo of homing explosives. Every mark. Because so this is, you use the gimmick here. Using your advanced. Find your foes. Start of your turn. Mark 2 enemies. Use them, but do not stack. So you use your gimmick here. Yeah, he's the gimmick man. If I have solar shards from each point of the moon you have, shards can hit any target, do two harm each. Cyclical, cool, wellspring hardy. So you immediately pick up sonar because there is 0 reasons for you not to choose sonar. Actually, non-power action each turn. Okay, wait. You explained combats up here. Action. Anything Spark choose to do in action is typically using a power. That's it, though. Like, there's no... I'm assuming move? Because you have no rules for anything else. So it says that, like, oh, you can make a non-power action each turn. What does that actually mean? So you just do something else, but you have no... Okay. Yeah, controlled burn doesn't, like... But that's, like, the thing with controlled burn is that it's using a gimmick. It's using a mechanic of the game I don't actually like that much. The drop system sounds really stupid. Like, it sounds really stupid. So, switch position within near or far range, target loses mark. So again, you want to just mark everybody because that's what half your powers work. You know, fires, like... Yeah, mostly when it comes to things like destroy, where you can mark 3 people and do 6 harm. Like, it's just like a better... Like, that's just the thing you do. There's 0 reason to not do that. Or more accurately, you pick up sonar tagged and then just spam out destroy constantly and win. Okay, the Warden. Warden, because you see he's a big man. Brr, big man Mecco, brr. Let's see. Your defender and bully. Unstoppable. Stun. Moving stun one enemy within close range. Bulwark. Charge 4 is unstoppable. Choose a near location. Restore to deal 1 harm for any enemy. This should not replace your movement. Earthquake. So here you choose Sun and just spam it. When health at the start of your turn, ramming, reflective, courier, when using ball. What? You may carry a close ally with you when using bull. You mean bulwark? Or rush? Okay, that's a... This kid's. This kid's is what we like to call a typo. You may carry a close ally with you when using bull. What does bull mean? There's no bull here. There's bulwark, but that doesn't do anything. I'm assuming it's this for bull rush. But alright, that's just something to know about. Enemies are killed upon crushing through, explode upon impact. Pox. Oh. So here's the war crime machine. This is literally a war crime machine. Cool. Poggers. War crimes. Poggers. See, I don't charge $20 for my games, so I don't do that. So let's say the Virulent Plague solely destroys all. Infect 1 enemy at the start of combat. Enemies are infected 1 harm. Infect 1 So okay, your gimmick is infection. That's what your gimmick is. Compel a plague to spread far and wide. Target an effective enemy up to near range. Infect all enemies within close range of that target. Choose one of the infected this round. Negative harm dealt plus 1 harm taken or cannot move. So, okay, patient 0 is you actually kind of want to die as this guy, because if you go down, you supernova to patient 0, And if you have a lot of people infected, everyone dies. You just win. Again, you look, fuel. 2 damage, 3 enemies instead. Adrenal. This is a harm to the closest enemy or runs away from you for 1 round. GM's choice. So Adrenal pretty much replaces this ability right there. Grim. Out in this field, the spark appears to be able to reanimate puppeteer the recently deceased. That's a fucking horrifying thing to think about. Raise dead once per round. When an enemy dies, you may immediately make them your thrall. 1 health and act with your powers. That's not move unless a mod allows it. You have a number of thralls equal to your shade. So this is the shade guy. You just have as high as shade as possible. You will like the Plague Doctor. You will like the Plague Doctor. That is what we have to deal with. So Pulse Springs, if you lash out, target thrall attacks a close enemy dealing its harm. Okay. Sacrifice the thrall within close range. Creates a drop of health or fuel equal to its maximum health. So 1. Let's see. Possess. Deal 2 harms to an enemy within near range. Gives them a single command that they must obey. That is not very specific. All thralls shriek into the air. Any enemies within close range of them recoil in fear. Now, if I'm remembering correctly, you don't actually have to roll for any of these. So, using powers, each for active powers they activate, to use one selected power, spend 1 fuel, resolve the power based on the effects. Yeah, so you do not actually have to roll anything for these. These are just things that occur and what you actually want to be doing, because you're always going to be using powers. Okay. Enthralling. Anytime an enemy not just once around, summons a new. Thralls are revived with sun health up to their max health. Okay. Nance Macabre, Howlers. Okay. And Drifta-san. I can't believe this. Man. Horde worker. No, I'm not. It's one of those things like we're supposed to like say like these are the good guys, and I always find it funny anytime it's like here's some horrifying events going on. Like they're the good guys though, and you're the good guys, and we don't want anyone mean. I'm just like, bitch, he resurrects the dead, and bitch, he is a walking chemical weapon. I'm like, oy vey. Let's see, empty clip. Pull out the big guns. Look tough. If you have 0 fuel at the end of your turn, you may activate your supernova. So, what's your supernova? Fill the air with bullets of sunlight. Choose range. Every enemy in that range take 2 harm. So, here's the secret. Here's the secret with this guy. You have low ass fuel, and what you do is you burn as much of your fuel as possible, and then immediately get it back. Because there's literally 0, like, effectively, if you have 3 fuel, use 3 powers, empty clip, pull off your supernova, and then you get 3 fuel back. That's how that works. So fire flurry of shots, blink of an eye. Let's see, choose close target equal to current fuel count, so about 3. Each target takes 1. Deal harm equal to the sun to target of near range. So fan the hammer isn't actually that useful if you want to be like efficient with it. Duel, single out of bow and challenge them. Near range, deal damage equal to moons. The enemy survives, inflict their harm to yourself. Take aim. So what this is I want to target the weakest enemies physically possible. Go bang, 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 bang. You think they are safe from you. Deal harm equal to shade. See, this guy actually has... Here's a weird thing, and one thing I'm noticing is that he Oh wait, choose close targets. It's near targets actually. Yeah, choose near targets equal. Yeah, no, that's an issue right there. We're not gonna talk about it though, because like the weird thing with this guy is that you're encouraged to use all three attributes, because this uses your fuel, this uses your sun, this uses your moon, this uses your shade. And your supernova is the idea of like fill the air with bolts of sunlight, choose range, every enemy takes 2 harm. I'm like, all right, because your passive literally doesn't do anything unless you have 0 fuel. Now the weird thing is this leak. You know, -1 fuel, -1 fuel, and then you can take that twice. Shade, sun, moon, shade, health. So gain 2 fuel from empty clip. Made sure fuel drops as health drops instead. Twice per turn. Supernova does 4 harm instead of 2. Wait a second. Mercury. Mercury. I saw that already. Ah. Not there. Mercury. Okay, we've already had 1 repeat of mods. So what's your gimmick? One extra fuel to double the harm. Spend 1 extra fuel. Uses sun instead. Uses moon instead. Uses shade instead. Is that your gimmick? Yeah. Like, I'm thinking that his gimmick... I'm thinking that the Drifter's gimmick is that you're supposed to burn all your fuel and then immediately trigger your... That's what I'm saying. It's a gimmick. What this is. You burn all your fuel and quickly use bullet hell, because bullet hell allows you to trigger empty clip. Well, actually, more accurately, empty clip lets you trigger bullet hell, and then you get 3 fuel. However, now here's the odd thing with that. Fan the hammer becomes useless. Choose target equal to current fuel count. Fan the hammer becomes useless with that kind of build, because there's a chance that you're going to have like 0. Actually, is that even possible to actually have 0 fuel? Because if you have 0 fuel, you start the game, you perform bullet hell, you get 3 fuel. Unless that doesn't count like maximum fuel. Can you have like less than like... Technically, you're going to have a fuel value of 0 with that, which would just mean it would just be what you spend on it, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of an odd one. Again, I'd be curious to see what people actually pick with these. I'm like, what are people actually picking for their sparks? So Songwine or Songwin? Songwine? Is that how it's spelled? Or is it Songwin? Songwin. Okay, I thought this was Song Wine, because I thought like that was a really stylized W. 1 health when using a power to activate his blood effect. So, okay, you have a completely different gimmick. Your entire thing is stealing people's health. Target close to each 1 health from one to the other. Trans health equal to your sun instead. So you can't do that. Siphon from your foes. Deal 1 harm to an enemy closer and gain 1 health. Affects all close enemies. Blood Blade will lash out with whirling talons made from your own blood. Lose 1 health. Deal 1 harm. So what this is lose 1 health, deal 1 harm, or deal 2 health, deal your shade instead. Burst forward with bats and move to any location with... What? Whoa. Oh, you turn into bats. You turn into bats. Throw bats in location within far range. Deal 1 harm to all close enemies location. What? You lock down, surround yourself with a steel coffin. No effects on death. You resurrect at the start of your next turn without requiring aid from an ally. Doing so, use your action. You may only move. What? This isn't a fucking mech at this point. You are just a vampire. You're not. This isn't a mech. That's a vampire. Let's see. So again, blood affected, no health costs. Donor, double health from transfusion. If you kill with sight and you may activate another power, you still have to play to fuel to do so. Honed blood, lose. What the fuck? Infinite. Okay, so damnation. Okay, enemies affected by powers are damned. Damned enemies gain +1 harm next time they attack a spark. Then inflict that double that harm on themselves. Close range, they die from hellfire. They explode and deal 1 damage to all enemies within close range. Brimstone. Oh wow, did you guys? You get the fact that it's a demon? Get the fact that it's a demon? It's a demon. Oh no. Brimstone. Deal 1 harm to enemies within near range. All enemies with close range to your target. All damaged enemies can only attack at close range until the end of the round. Cast your enemies to the realm of fire and pain momentarily. This isn't a mech at this point. This is magic. You are using magical powers. Okay, fuck it. We have magic now. Okay, fuck it. Close range disappear from the battle. And bind the bodies of close. Damn their souls. Target number of enemies equal to the moon. They can. Is that what? So you just they become damned. Bind the bodies of closest foes and damn their souls. Target number of enemies equal to moon. They cannot act this round. So it's not damnation. Because damned is capitalized. This is not capitalized. Okay. All enemies within close range are dragged down to hell and killed. Okay, alright. Poggers in the chat, everybody. It's not removing after enemies deal harm. Like, no, they're close to you. Fire, fine print. Damned enemies cannot deal harm to you. Affected by final judgment at any range. Cost no fuel to do. White hot explosion harm with 4 hellfire equals to your some brimstone. Rift tear bind them. Like, because it starts out like you are man with sword, then it like escalates to you are literally a magic like demon man. Like that's not. No, stop that right now. So you know what, let's we still have our sample character here. I guess we're gonna make a pox, so let's violate the Geneva Convention and we'll do it with okay, let's see. So, Pelzy spread far and wide. Yeah, no, you just, I want to be start of combat. I mean, who infect take 1 harm. So yeah, you just infect people using the power of infection, and I get to spread how many points to my frames? I get to spend. Metal Flesh, program your spark. Every spark starting health values of 2. Spend up to 8 points in total. Increase those values. So I get 8 points. So I want to do. Let's do 4 into health. Actually, let's do 5 into health and 3 in. Let's do 5 into fuel and 3 into health because we're just going to spam moves. That's going to be the plan. We're just going to spam. We want to spam as much possible you know, violence as we physically can. We're just going to infect everybody. Everyone's going to have their own piece of sadness. So, okay. When a pilot decides which spark to call, the collection of mods can be earned or activated for each spark, allowing them to customize their abilities. Okay. Okay, why aren't they called flares then? Why are they not called flares? Why aren't they called flares then? Why are they called mods? So, Spark unlocks more flare mods. They will note them on their character sheet. What? No, call them persistent flares, power flares. This is not difficult. These these aren't difficult. Why are they called that way? Okay, so we have to choose 2 of them. Okay, so let's see. So actually, okay, I know what we want to do. We want to select Plaguebringer because Plaguebringer is essential. And we want to select, let's see, so, evolved. So let's see, it costs no fuel. First time powers using combat doesn't count as an action. If it doesn't count, the thing is, if it doesn't count as an action, that means you can also do something else. So, let's see, I guess we will actually go for... I mean, we can just... Actually, why don't we just go for efficient effect? Because the thing is, like, we want to... Actually, target of infected enemy up to near range. Infect all... enemies close range to the target. Why would I ever use infect when I can just use spread? Because spread does the exact same thing. Actually, no, we have to do that. No, we would want to do efficient infect, because if you do efficient effect, you can just infect more people. And I've already, you know, already have Plaguebringer, so I can infect 4 people around effectively. And then next round you get prepped. So you just prepped, infect everybody, and never stop infecting people. Congratulations, I fixed the game. Wow, that fucking sucks. What is this game? What is this game? Yeah, I don't know why it's there. Like, that's such a weird... That's such a bizarre place to put it. Because, like, this is the character so far. Like, this is the character. Like, that is literally all it is. Like, congratulations, here's my Nova character. And generally speaking, these 2 things are completely separate. There's, like, I'm just gonna spam all my Plaguebringer effects as much as I can. Technically, what I should do is do, I should do this, so I have a little bit more health and I can still spam things. Because at the end of the day, all I want to do is spam my abilities to infect as many people as possible and just sit in the corner and do nothing, because they're gonna die eventually. Like, alright, so that's... What the fuck? Okay, so creating your sparks. Let's see. Characters. How long have you been... Alright, how long have you been that? Creating the... This is literally the creating your character section. Cool, poggers. Let's see. You've met each other. You should discuss the city you're based out of. Assigned to a city. Personalized missions. You don't need to figure everything out. Session 0. By deciding how large settlement is. So key people, factions. Okay, so this is the... Literally have a setting in mind already. Lamau. Don't think about it. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's largely unknown. Briefing stage presents the mission. Doing so sparks 2 questions. What city gained from the mission successful? Once everything is flare mods in place, it's time to deploy the sparks. Yeah! Wait. deployment. Deployment phase where most of playtime in Nova takes place. Fight enemy forces, delve into old ruins, debriefing. All their health and fuels, improve their characters, reflect on the outcome of the mission. Oh, interesting gimmicks for classes and races. Well, here's two things. Do not look for gimmicks. Look for niches. Because, like, here's the thing when it comes to, how do I want to word this? When it comes to, like, class design and, like, race design, one of the really complicated things to do is to find a good place for each of them. Like, that's a very complicated task in more than a few ways. And it's complicated for two reasons. Because everyone is going to have a niche. Everyone's going to find something that interacts with something else. So even like here, for example, what we were kind of go through, we can see that a gimmick for the one guy who has 0 fuel gets to do 2 damage to everyone. Or Sanguine's, you know, if you take damage, like if you consume your own health, you're allowed to do bigger effects. Those are all things that produce results and they fill a niche. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. Give me one moment. love my mother. I want y'all to remember that. I love my mom. She's a wonderful lady. My mother is no my. I thought I was doing about your extended car warranty. No, no, they know me too well at this point. It would be in Chinese if that were the case. But yeah, my mother likes to talk. She wanted to talk to me about the anime convention I went to. It's not very good, but to answer your question, Mr. Y, as I was talking about, when designing gimmicks and like designing like class features, you have to do two things. The big thing is you have to find a position where they belong and what they do. You can have all the gimmicks in the world, but if someone does that particular niche better, no one's gonna give a shit about it. No one's gonna give a fuck about that gimmick. Because, like, here, this is actually a really good example. I can use this in this book. I was thinking about it when I was on call. Where are you? Like, the Drifter here, you can argue that the Drifter's entire gimmick is this. Is like, you hit zero fuel, you do bullet hell. Every enemy takes 2 harm. However, the problem is that their gimmick invalidates one of their powers. So it's like, okay, no one... Huh? Like that, like, no one wants to do that. Like, okay, because... And then it's like hip fire. Like, sun within near target range. Like, okay. They're spread way too thin, and their gimmick is all about this. However, then you have gimmicks like where are you? Scorch, I think. Not Voyager. This guy right here, Pyre. Pyre does his job, but about 15 times better. He dashes in, he clicks a button, and everyone dies. You know, like, oh, dash, single out target, deal 2 harm to an enemy at close range, or 3 harm to them if you move before activating dash. Cool, that's literally it. You move, you dash, you do 3 harm. You're doing his job a lot easier. Than, like, there's actually like a cycle to things. You got to think about it. You don't got to think shit with this guy. You run up, you bash someone over the head. Like, it does the exact same thing. However, you end up with things like the Voyager here. The Voyager's gimmick is that he wants to mark people. The more people who are marked, that means he can do all his abilities. He has a niche. He wants to focus down certain people. That's what he's going to do. However, because a human being is not dumb and will do smart things for smart reasons, you're going to immediately take sonar, because sonar is like, you may mark 3 enemies instead of 2. It's just more. You are adding in more power. You are adding in more options for you to do. And you're going to take a lot of these things that are going to allow you to kind of hurt people a little bit more. And you're going to bully them. That's your job, pretty much. Like, your gimmick is very simple, and you're going to use that gimmick to do something very specific. If you try to make it too gimmicky, if you try to make something that's like way too like specific, or like Pox, for example, Pox isn't actually very good. And it's because Pox's gimmick is that he infects you, and at the start of every turn, all enemies who are infected take 1 harm. However, you're going to infect 1 enemy at the start of combat. You have to spend 1 fuel by default to infect another enemy. Then you have to use on the next turn. You have to use spread to target an infected enemy at near range. His gimmick isn't really that great. He does passive dots. It's like, okay, cool. Like, that was fun, I guess. I just don't really care all that much, because his gimmick isn't actually that interesting. What you want to do when you are designing a set of gimmicks or niches is find out what they do and how they do it. Like, again, Songwinds does kind of have a valuable, idea, as they are probably the only person who can heal. Yes, they are allowed to heal people naturally without relying on drops. So you're going to want to use them a lot to heal because that's what they do. And you're like, oh, well, shit. Because nobody else can do it. Like, they have a niche now. Like, they have a specific, like, role on the field that they can do things with. Well, someone like the Drifter doesn't really have anything, but his gimmick kind of prevents it. Niche, good. You have a purpose. Gimmick, not great, because someone else is probably going to do it better. And it reminds me of the Fight Second Edition situation. Fight Edition. I can't remember which edition, or Thrash. One of those games where you could do all these gimmick moves, or you can do things that, trigger your specials, and you can do these things. Or everyone just decided to pump it into damage, because damage was just better. Let's see. I'm deciding because I feel like I'm giving too many gimmicks to the dragon class in my game with fire, long distance damage, scale, armor up, and wings. Usually the case when you have a character, when you have, like, narratively speaking, you should give them a lot of options. Usually there has to be a kind of the dagger in the gut kind of thing. The situation is this is what makes things a little bit more complicated for you. Rifts, actually. Rifts has an RCC called a Dragon Hatchling. You can play a legitimate dragon in Rifts. It's a first character class. It's something that you can... VOI FYI. But the thing with the Dragon Hatchling is that you have to level up to start unlocking a lot of those abilities, and it takes time. And it's an investment both on you, the player playing that Dragon Hatchling, as well as the players who have to kind of be in your group. They're kind of having to protect you in some cases, because that Dragon Hatchling can't put on armor. They have natural armor. They have natural MDC. Yeah, Thrash is the game with that issue where it's just dump everything into pure damage. Now, when you are designing things with like a lot of gimmicks, there has to be something that kind of balances it out. And it could be something inside the power. Like, yes, you have you can breathe fire. Like, you have this huge long distance attack that's amazing. The problem is, it is a long distance cataclysm fireball that is going to kill anything in the way. And like, hey, yeah, you don't really want to use that ability in town, or you don't want to use that ability around people because they're going to get hurt, obviously. So that's kind of a limiting factor right there. You have to start thinking about it. Or like wings. Like, yeah, you can fly. You have a lot of mobility. Or just give dragons like wings. Yeah, you can give options to players in how they want to do it. And maybe like as they level up or however you handle it. And that they get some bonuses. Or even down things like scales. Like, yeah, you can get scales. Like, you start off with scales. You have a lot of armor. However, that dragon isn't going to put on any other armor. And those scales, over time, aren't going to get much better. They aren't going to get much worse either. So you might have something really good, but they're going to start to fall off eventually. I need to go over Fight Second Edition, actually. That's one of those things I need to go over. But that would effectively what scales would be like. It's like your gimmick is, yeah, you get free armor. Problem is, you get free armor and you can't change it. Like, you aren't being able to change it. Or, yes, you can fly, but when you fly, you have to have a good amount of room to actually fly in. So you're not exactly flying inside of a place. You need, like, a launch pad, effectively, to do it effectively. Again, it's giving and takes. For every good thing, there has to be a bad thing when it comes to like really valuable stuff. Sometimes you don't need to do it. Nobody gives a shit about dark vision. You want to know why no one cares about dark vision in any version? Because dark vision isn't like a good thing or a bad thing. I wanted to call XP bounty for flavor. That might work. And because dark vision is like, yeah, you just can see in the dark. It's like cool. Everyone wipes their hands, says cool, fine, that's okay. It's not really a gimmick. Everyone has their niche, and you might come up, but it might not. Always lean in favor of a little bit of positive, but sometimes have a negative in there. And kind of going back and forth. Like I'm trying to think at the top of my head what was one that actually had like a really extensive. What was the game? I can see it in my head. I can't remember at the top of my head. I'm losing my mind. But and sometimes there are going to be natural issues. Like, oh man, this race has a bunch of really cool ability. Oh, sorry. I have a bunch of cool abilities and such. However, they aren't welcome in towns. They are routinely discriminated against. Or, hey, they're going to explode in like 12 years or something. That's what happened with juicers and rifts. I'm going to bring up rifts because I love rifts. Juicers are insane. They are incredibly powerful people, and they have a lot of options right off the bat. You got 5 years to live. The second you start, 5 years. One of my favorite characters I ever played was a juicer on his 4th year. On his one-way quest to die, to find purpose or die trying. And that was kind of like that was the fun part. That's the one thing I actually really enjoyed about playing that character, was that he was hopeless. He had this weird opinion about life, because he's like, I signed up 4 years ago. I became a juicer then. I can't go back. They're like, we can save you. Like, no, you can't. I don't want to go back. Like, I don't want to become a non-juicer anymore. Because that's what my life is. Like, I've made this decision to die. So I'm going to kill you. It's only in black. Yeah, like, but that's kind of the idea, Mr. White. Like, you're thinking in the right idea. Like, you're thinking correctly. Just understand that when you're making powers and making abilities for things, there's going to be natural balance. And if you ever feel something that's too powerful, like, this is going to get spammed a lot. Find out a way to balance it. Like, I can tell you what probably was going through his head when he made Sanguine. Sanguine was actually, knowing him, was started as blood. But Sanguine's powers probably originally started as healing powers. Or, like, really good, just deal damage and heal from it. The problem is, there was no balancing factor there anymore. It was like, wait a second, well, shit. So he decided to put in things such as hey, trigger the blood effects, spend 1 health, and if you can affect everybody, or spend 1 health, do this. That's how the game works. Then you have shit like Undead Supernova, which is the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Gila, that's retarded. And I say that in the nicest way possible. Like, that's just fucking stupid. Okay, so, session 0, establish our safety tools. Who wants to learn about safety tools? Who wants to learn about safety tools? I hate safety tools. I think they're stupid. So, let's see. A typical session is short as an hour. Not a camp. That's not a session, really. Dangerous myth and wrapping up. There's no official length to a campaign. All different expectations. Oh, wow. Okay. So, greetings, fellow pilots. Like, hello pilots. Creating the city. Missions. Okay, so deployment. Playtime. Debriefs. Taking stakes. Time between missions. Helping the locals. Blowing off steam. Making the city more like home. Okay, okay. Oh, which is zone of the dusk. The mission is taking place in. The Crimson, the Dusk, the Umbral. The wise man knows keep a great distance between them and the sparks. The Dusk, unknown, the Umbral. The Umbral. So, health pool. Wait a second. Recommend difficulty for locations throughout the mission. This difficulty is total amount of health the enemy units. Oh, wow. Oh, wowzer. Wowzer. Wow. 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 So, low health enemies crashing. 125 health. Jesus fucking Christ almighty. Because you're doing like 1 or 2 health. Like, you're not doing jack shit for health. I mean, yeah, you aren't. Jesus, that's gonna take that'll just be long if you're playing the game as intended. Frick on, and we'll play D&D with the boys. Let's see. Mission types. There are 4 primary types. Enemy factions. The Hellions, the Corvus Dominion, the Haze Dwellers, the Lunar Cultists, plus Elite. Roll, use both. Yeah! Assault, bread and butter. Who are you attacking? Assault variants, halt. Oh no, Reek. Oh wow, look at all the fucking missions we can have here. Support, wow, wow. Let's see, locations, theme, structure, personality and tone, so they don't do anything, so that's cool. Let's be honest, these really don't do anything. So structures, structure tables, yeah, these are just more. These don't really do anything. Just roll a bunch of d6s and have fun. Enemies, okay, an example enemy, a lunar heretic. The acolytes at the beginning of the journey of the Pale Path. They push the limits of enlightenment with inhuman fervor. It's conjure a beam of moonlight and firing it toward Kate's Pyre Spark, who is in near range. So you fire out my magic missile and deal 3 harm. Pyre takes 1 harm from the lunar heretic's action. She cuts down Lieutenant with activates the expire keyword, dealing 3 harm to any close sparks. Okay, so let me guess. Enemy, boss enemies. Oh wow, yeah, boss enemies. Followers, company elite, layer, commands, enemy keywords. Okay, what are moves? Okay, actions, reactions, motives, and tactics, and amusement. These are narrative flavors. My god, the game has a difficulty toggle. GM's choice. Yep, that's the GM's choice for a lot of these. So, at the end of the day, what you should be looking at is this. So, this is in, majority Hellions are shock troopers, tend to do as much damage as possible before a counterattack can happen. Find cover, disregard allies, focus fire. Wow! No, it's health 2, harm 1. That is literally all, that is the only thing that matters. Because they don't have anything else. So, let's do, like, Cravers. What do Cravers do? Nothing. Okay, you have a wound. You lock when you take a wound. Firebugs. Harm 2 close, splash 1. So, splash 2, all close to targets, wound, affect the trigger when the enemy causes harm. You lock when you loom. So, when a firebug deals damage to you, they lock you down. That is how it works. To a degree, yeah, that's what you're kind of going for. So, So basically, each class should fulfill a defined role, and customization should help cater that game's experience to the player's tastes. Yes. If you're going down the class route, that's a good option. Now, mind you, some classes are going to be able to fulfill multiple roles. Some other classes maybe have a lot more flavor to them than others. It's fine. That's okay. I've seen some games do classes that are like really like, this is an important facet of the world that you are this. And I've also seen some which are like Fighter Man, Magic Man, Stevie Man, like that's so carvers. So if you choose to become a heavy carver, you get 3 health, 2 harm close. If that part, leave your mark. Haze Tamers, and you can summon Bloodlummers. Bloodlummers. Okay, wait a second. So that's Caro the Bloodied right there. This is what we have to assume Caro the Bloodied is. Veteran of the Dusk, man rally many of the Hellion groups under her banner. Her word is law, enforced by her loyal followers and trusty flamethrower. That doesn't seem like a very good way of democracy. So she has 8 followers, always fortified, command, all Hellion carvers gain flight, flesh bugs gain wound, the spark takes 1 harm on their next action. So, okay, you are playing literally Warframe. This is Warframe. That's what you're playing. These aren't mechs. These are Warframes. Because, yeah, because, like, if these were mechs, like, you're too big to be a mech. Like, this isn't a mech game. I don't know why people kept calling this a mech game. Let's see. Humans weren't the only ones on Earth. Oh, hi, Corvers. Wow, you look kind of neat. Not gonna lie, like, that's cool. Shame you're in this game. Like, okay, actually, let's do a little. I'm just gonna do a little like. Yeah. Okay. So close. It goes close, near, far, beyond. So near and close are different, but near does sound a lot like close, and close does sound a lot like near. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit confusing, but nothing too weird. Like, all right, this is fine. Like, Spire, Magpies, Days, Rooks. So yeah, I mean, health 10. You only have 10 health. So that's going to be... But I guess... Actually, no, the thing is, like... I guess if you think about the idea that you're going to have... like, relatively a lot... Yeah, that's fine. Then, like, you're accompanied by a bunch of people. Attack sparks during their travel. Immune to... Zircon is immune so long as there are other Corvus present in the encounter. Summon Crow, Jay, Magpie after reaching health. Haze Dwellers. Yeah, Haze Dwellers. Want to be a glitter moth? Yeah, let's be a glitter moth. Gore thing. That's just a fucking dragon. Like, cool. Consumed a large sunshine. Apex of the sky with no equal. She wields a paternal fury for the loss of her brood. Also, don't forget, health 10, because that's apparently what elites are. This 10 health. Lunar cult. Lunar cult. Corrupted spark. Corrupt our sparks using moonstones from lunar shards. With the pilot inside his fallen victim, cult machination, the spark pilot itself now remains to be seen. So, yeah, these have to be human-sized. Yeah, these are just human-sized people, and that you have 3 variants that I guess... See, don't you just want to be Grim, summon a nightmare to summon more nightmares? Okay, so... GM section, genre. What? Sci-fi role-playing game at its heart. Wow! Another fucking... This is the second one. We don't need this. We don't need to tell the second time. Yeah, I don't think she's that big. So, yeah, okay. Death doesn't happen. Fast combat, challenging players. Fast combat, many can find and streamlined. Shouldn't spend analyzing all the best options. Yeah, because you're just going to continue doing the same option. Still highlight the powerful nature of their sparks. Embrace it. Distant ranges, keep the action flowing. Players act in interesting ways during their turn. Some players may struggle at first to find use of their attributes during combat. Here's I'm going to give you all some players may want more challenge, tempted to harder because scared of killing enemies so quickly. You're supposed to do that if you want to do that. Avoid adding health to enemies so as to slow his fighting down. For example, first an enemy soldier might take cover, but more advanced challenge takes cover and opens fire. But moves don't do anything. Moves don't do anything. So what? No, don't think about it, Notepad. Don't think about it. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little thing here real fast. So you see this? Oh, it isn't covered by the rules. It's fine. However, I'm gonna give you all a very distinct secret here. I'm gonna give you all a very distinct little secret here. I want you all to remember this. Put this in your mind's eye anytime you're writing something. If I'm giving you two choices of something to do, and on one hand, you're going to have a thing that says, deal 3 damage. And on the other hand, you have something that says, do something. What are you going to choose? In our brain, in our mind, we're going to default to do 3 damage. Because we know what it is, we know how it works, and we know what's going to happen with it. That second one might do 7 damage. It might do 10. It might do this insane amount, but we don't know. And since there are no rules, the player does not understand. They do not know. And that player is going to look at it and they're going to think about it for a moment, being like, I can do this, but I don't know if the GM is going to let me do it. I don't know if the GM is going to say that's going to do 4 damage. Or it's going to do 1 damage? I don't know unless you ask them. Hey, GM, hey, GM, what does this mean? What does this do? And the GM's like, well, it's going to do this. And you're like, oh, all right, then that's like, you want to do it. But then that's a hard and fast thing. Rulings, not rules. Kind of in that same vein. Effectively, if you want things to be tightly designed, do not leave it in the hands of a GM or a player to decide. Because what happens is GM 1 is going to say one thing, GM 2 is going to say another thing, GM 3 is going to say something else. You're going to have all these different people saying very different things. Now, if I were to say that you can do an action, and every time you do just a basic action, you can do 2 harm if you hit. If you roll and you do a success, as long as you do a success, you're going to hit and do 2 damage. Is there any incentive for me to now ever do a action that does 1 harm? No, there is no incentive now. Like, it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Well, it's a power, so you want to use a power. No. If you give people options, they're going to actually be able to use those options. Even if you say something simple, like, hey, if they throw a small object, it's going to do 1 harm. If they throw a big object, it's going to do 2 harm. Even if you put something like that in, people are going to understand that a little bit better. People are going to understand that that's an option now. And they can look at the book, and they can look at the GM being like, okay, I want to throw, is that a heavy or a light object? Be like, well, the GM can now say, because he knows, that's a heavy object. Be like, well, I want to grab the heavy object and throw it at the lunar cultist. He's like, cool, make a roll for it. Everyone rolls. Hey, you succeed with flying colors. You slam right into him, deal 2 damage. Or, hey, succeed with a complication. Well, you throw it, but now it's lodged somewhere and, someone's got cover or something. Or, hey, you fail it, it goes wide and it lands there and now other people's got an advantage. You can do things like that. But that's completely different. Because this is just saying, do it. Just roll something. Just come up with something. If you don't give options, people aren't going to understand it. And I've been trying to find a good way of like putting this into words. But the idea is that rules help players. Rules help players make decisions. If you don't give them rules for something, they aren't going to talk about, they're not going to even make a decision for that. Like, they're not going to, if you don't provide something, they're not going to make that choice because it's just, to them, it's not a choice. Unless they have to just say, again, unless they are like strictly asking, GM, can I do a thing? And then it's like, well, the GM's got to sit there and think about it, being like, well, yeah, but then everyone else wants to do that now. Marginal cases, like, yeah, I mean, sometimes it comes apart when you make a hard and fast rule. Being I know, we changed how initiative works in our Flying Swordsman game. My friend, the GM, decided that he didn't like how initiative works because it was kind of a weird how to calculate it. So what we do now is 1d10 plus some modifiers. That is how we choose to do initiative. Because it's easier that way. It's simpler, and we are allowed to kind of jump into the action a little bit more, and people kind of understand it a bit. No side cases, no weird numbers. We can just do it. And it's very simple, it's very easy, and everyone can keep track of it. That's a ruling. He made that rule, and that's something we follow. And that's something that we can all point at and say, this is the ruling you made. See, that's why I don't really like a lot of these vague rules in games. Because if the more these vague rules you make, especially when it's like, oh, put a consequence on them, or put a hard bargain or something. Because those aren't really rules or rulings, because it's just the GM having to make something up on the fly, which could be good one day, and the other day it's the difference between like, oh, you kick down the door and you have a consequence. Is it you have a consequence, you kick down the door and there's a guard on the other side, or you kick down the door and your leg goes through it and you get shot? Like, very different, completely different contexts, completely different ideas, but still the same thing and both completely valid. So let's see, missions, who wants this work done? And the flare system is designed to create builds for their... oh, God. Let's create builds! There's no other mechanical incentive in the game for completing. No currency, XP, or new gear for Spark. Especially new tech and gear. Caution against it, because adding more levers and gears will likely slow down the play. Alternatively, find a way to make outcome and mission meaningful without having to give them a mechanical edge when possible. Which is to say, I designed a game that you have to use very specific things. You're also a player in the game. Be a fan of the players. Oh my god, keep it quick. Shared responsibility. It's a movie, not a simulation. Find the story. The world is strange. RPG. This set. Okay, here's lore. Lore. We all love lore. Here's our character sheets. He does provide this, thankfully, but this is literally what the game is. Like, there's not actually much here. So yeah, that's Nova. I'm curious. I want to go into the creator kit real fast. Own concept for the Nova RPG. So ridiculously powerful. This is intentional. Building new sparks, create new enemies, considering optional supplemental rules. It creates sparks since what originally built in my head. Rules you see in RPG: Scorcher's Castle Warden's Tank. Then I made a Necromancer card, the Vampire Spark, and a little Devil as a spark. Could be Wave 2. Could be the Herald of New Wave 3. Make it your own. So, you need a resource. For example, you have maybe you've got a Rage Spark that's pissed more damage it takes. Having a unique resource of Rage. Existing healthy fuel will set the spark apart from the rest. On this, meant to be quick. Second, you start adding more levers and buttons. Slower it gets. For active powers, it's a mark for active. Remember, every turn is going to want to choose from these 4 options to decide. Very rarely spent on not using one of its powers. That means you want them to all be appealing. No Eldritch Blast here. No, obviously I'm going to do this, just do this over and over again. What's your definition of ruling? Usually my idea of a ruling is a snap call. That is, in a situation where there is no right answer, you make a call. That's a ruling to me. It's saying that if there are no rules in place for, what was one that I had to make a call? I made a ruling on that was kind of weird because it was a weird decision and it was a weird thing that made no sense, and I just made a call on it. Oh yeah, it was technically there was this game, I can't remember, I think it was one of mine, where you could technically dodge something point blank. Like a point blank gun, you're getting shot at you. It was just because the idea of the rule originally was like you can dodge a range weapon, and that makes sense. I never specified the range, I guess, because I was like, no one's gonna shoot someone point blank. That's ridiculous. So I put in this ruling. So I made a snap ruling, being like, okay, you can't dodge something point blank. Later on, I added in some other options for people to play around with, and when it comes to that situation, because I just never thought about it. That's a ruling. Rulings are snaps. They are just like, this is something that's going on right now. Rulings can become rules. We don't want to, like, oh, well, this isn't really how I want this to work. Like, oh, like, what was it? Back when I was playing, my friend's homebrew, someone asked if they could use Flame Blast, like a Flame Blast ability, kind of like shoot a ball of flame out to light a torch. The rules never covered that because there was a spell that allows you to snap and then you light a torch or something. He said, now his ruling was, yeah, you can totally do that. It doesn't fucking matter. That was a ruling. It was a snap call. That's not covered by anything. That kind of eventually became kind of its own side rule. So, I'm going to do, yeah, you're going to do a lot of those actually. Designing a power, 2 different flavors, flat and variable, gives an outcome. So there's no ruling for damage, so the variety comes linking power effects with one of the spark's attributes. Deal damage equal to sun means different things depending on how much sun the player gave their spark. Slightly more complicated, this does open up some really interesting places to play with mods and builds. Again, I'm using this word comes up again. Builds. I hate that fucking word. You can't go wrong with either. Okay, supernova. The super idol. Drops and support, which means Scorched Supernova goes up. It's both destructive and supportive in a big way. But then you can bring them back for an action with half of everything again. Alright, get some sleep, Varric. Yeah, go to sleep. It's 3 a.m. Let's see. Persistent power. You need 10 of each. Sparks are level 20 characters. Like, oh my god. Do not compare it to fucking D&D. Which means the fun of Nova, in my opinion, comes from the builds. It's the build. We love the builds. You love builds. I love builds. We all love builds. Fucking builds. Jesus fucking Christ. Games shouldn't have builds. Builds mean that there are specific ways to play. There are specific things that you're going to immediately see, and that's just a predetermined course. No, don't add those. Do not make builds. Because builds fundamentally take away your choices. They make sure that you can't react to things. Characters are best when they evolve. Let's see. Why do you hate build? The thing is, what occurs with builds is actually here. This is actually a good example. Give me 1 second. Let me open that up. So, for example, this is my player. Like, I'm going to know exactly what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to pick up mod X, then mod Y, increase X, increase Y. Like, I already know what my character is going to be. I have already finished the game. Like, my encouragement for advancement is no longer, I want to see where my character goes. It's, I want to hit level 2 so I can now do this, this, and this, and this. I want to hit level 3 to do this, this, and this, and this. And I find them boring because there's like 0 evolution, and I don't feel like this is one of the things I didn't like about Lancer a lot, actually. That was a big thing with Lancer that kind of annoyed me, was that Lancer encouraged builds. And it wasn't like, I want to make a, my pilot is this daring asshole, but he, eventually he, learns to, calm down a little bit. Or maybe like, hey, I really like this gun. I want to kind of, use this gun a little bit more often because I found it. No, it's, okay, I've planned out license level 1 to license level 20. I've planned out everything what I'm going to do, and I just have to wait now. And I like evolution rather than just preset. And that's what builds do. They give you a preset list of options that are going to happen. Which is like, ugh. I'll throw aways, but they are huge deal for to have powers that call on attributes. Which should be more. That's the thing. Like, they shouldn't be, because those are your main attributes. These are like the main thing your characters are comprised of. If you take away everything else, you don't have anything. You just choose a character already there. You have a fucking playbook then. Then these mods are a chance to let Sparks create builds that related to these Sparks passive. Sometimes they're supernova, super idol. Again, you'll be splitting these 6-4. Flat bonus to the changes, like +1 harm, +1 range. 4 power mods, 4 active mods. Wrapping up Sparks, creator kit, itch page. Enemies, making new enemies, because remember, kids, enemies are quite literally how much health they have, how much damage they do, and their range. That is what an enemy is composed of. Add a new keyword, I guess, if you feel like it, but you don't really need to. Kill. This part can kill one or more enemies with single power, and that's intentionally designed. Just because the case with Sparks get more mods. Not making an enemy that has like 50 health creates a slog of a fight with one side hitting the other over and over again. Dangerous by their moves, but their moves don't do anything. Now mechanical instead description. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. How do I not make builds? Some people pre-plan. I'm not going to say it's wrong. Here's the thing. Some people are going to pre-plan what they want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. However, when you bake it into design, when you bake it into how the game is supposed to be played, it ends up in a situation where people are going to make the, like, it's finishing the game before, like, I have, in a few little opinions, you've probably heard me say, like, the game is finished by the time I create my character. It's like, my character's never going to evolve past what's here, because it's like, I already know what's going to happen. But even when people, like, pre-plan sheets and, like, pre-plan what they want their character to be, things are going to change. Yeah, I remember, it's the idea of, like, well, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'm gonna get all these things. And you might find, like a D&D. I hate D&D, but D&D is sometimes hard to plan for. You might find a magic weapon that you pause for a second being like, wait, this sword allows me to do fucking what? I have fire damage now? Well, shit. Fuck that idea. I got a flaming sword and you don't. I'm cool. You suck. Because your entire plan changes. Because you've evolved. You know, it's like, hey, I have a new sword now. Or, hey, I have boots that allow me to fly through, fly 20 feet in one direction real quick. That's going to change everything. I'm not going to pick a power now that lets me, move 5 feet extra feet or something. Fuck no. I'm going to use my magic boots to fly across the field or something like that. How do you not make builds? I can't stop you from making a build. That's like the big thing. You cannot stop a player from making a build or whatever. They have been around since 2nd edition, with people being, well, hell, you can still find the 3.5 forums going over how to make pun or whatever. Pun exists because of builds. What you can do, however, and when you're designing a game anyway, is not necessarily, like, tell people about it. Let it evolve. Let players decide what they want and what they like, and have a character evolve. Have a character naturally kind of progress with time. In Oji-san Demon Slayer Corporation, one of my more recent games, I made it a point where you are going to have to kind of like reduce your stats in a way. And what I wanted to do was that people are going to like kind of start naturally kind of pre-planning of like, well, I can afford to get rid of this now, or I can afford to get rid of that. But it's also like you can't really predict how much stress you're going to lose. Sometimes you might lose no stress hardly. Like you're going to take only a few little spatterings of stress, and you're like, okay, this is fine. But you also might take a lot of stress one time, and then it's like, what do I reduce now? Because I can't reduce everything unless I want to reduce something really valuable to me. It's an evolution. You're making changes to your character that aren't necessarily pre-planned. And some games sometimes benefit from builds. Those games are incredibly technical. That's the big thing. You gotta remember that. Those games are incredibly technical and incredibly dense usually. 40. Like, as in, how do I make it so that some characters are created in a way to be stronger than others? Or something. Like, are you kind of going down the angle of, like, how do you, like, design character? Like, how do you make it so that, like, another character is stronger? I don't quite know what you're asking there. Because if you want to do that, just give them more powers, give them more options, make it clearly better. Because it's not that hard. I've seen it before. Be my Farag and just, here are the proud Aryan people with plus 10 bajillion to everything, and the Moors. It's like, no. Let's see. Slam down energy barrier move. No, give it mechanics. Mechanics make rules. Need rules to make decisions. Let's see. Designing moves. You get a bit more mechanical bite to the enemy. Yeah, keywords is what actually have mechanics. This isn't a thing. Supplements, yeah. This is the funny part about this entire book. Like, the creator kit, the jam, is like, this is things that he wants you to make. For Nova. For him. Why don't you make it for me? Please. I didn't do it. So, you should make it for me. Like, that's what literally... maybe you want to try it too. after releasing to the public is a great way to show people here's how I play Nova. Maybe you want to try it too. How do I play Nova? By playing a different fucking game. That is how I would play Nova. Or I'm going to just see, the best part about this is that since there are so few rules, I can just make it an apocalypse game and it's going to work great because I know how to do these things. Theater of the mind, a lot of cognitive load, rule supplements, base building, weapons. What? No. Role-playing rules. Oh, Gila, you fool. Gila, you fool. You've given me options. Maybe I'll do that as kind of a weekend project. Just do like a fucking entire, like, that'd be a curse game. You want to avoid like certain characters being stronger. Usually the case, if you want to avoid that, or like, I would say create a sense of balance. If you want to create balance, that is almost impossible. Unless you have a system that is very number crunchy in a way. But even then, that's kind of hard. Which is the idea of, technically, like actually, let's say, for example, we have a really simple game with 3 stats, body, mind, soul, and every class gives you a certain number of value to body, mind, and soul. A class that gives you 2 body, 1 soul, 1 mind, fundamentally speaking, is going to be the exact same as a class that gives you 1 body, 1 mind, 2 soul. They should be the same, mechanically. Numerically speaking, they are the same. However, if mind is rolled for literally nothing, mind is never rolled, except for like these niche cases, and body is the most valuable stat in the entire game, the character with 2 in body is going to be fundamentally better than the one with 2 in spirit. So there comes that point when you need to, when you're kind of designing options that kind of look at kind of things in a broader sense, see what connects to what. And the best way to do it is try to avoid dangling mechanics, which are just mechanics out in the void that aren't connected really to anyone or anything. It's like, why is this here? That's usually a problem. And so like the best way to actually check for this, here's a secret. I want everyone to feel useful and actively participating. You cannot make a player do that. Everyone's going to find be useful in certain places. You know, people saying like D&D, for example. Everyone knows D&D, that's why I use it a lot. Fighters are useless. Fighters don't do any damage, they don't do any abilities, they don't have magic, they don't have utility, blah, 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 blah. And yet sometimes the fighter is the most valuable member of the team. He might not have those options, but the player makes use of the limited options he has. Double action surge to get in someone's face, you know, actively using the mechanics. Cool. Players are going to be able to do that better than someone with a billion tools who doesn't use any of them. The best way to kind of get an idea of, you know, everyone feels useful and participating in fights, playtest. Playtest, 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 playtest. That is all you can really do. If you are concerned about like certain options being stronger than others or certain options being weaker than others, have people make characters. That is usually what the first thing I say for playtesting is make characters. Put them in front of your friends and have them make a character for you. Maybe give all your friends a single character to make. I did that before. And that was actually, I ended up with some very unique results for that. I gave everyone, like, make a fighter man, make a magic man, and make a rogue man. But my battle man. Yeah, and I gave them those 3 options to make, and it was interesting because my one friend, he immediately saw that, like, body was, like, really useful. Because body gave more health, and health was useful because health makes me alive. So he, like, all his characters had, like at least average body compared to others. I'm like, okay. And then my second friend, he went hardcore on the skills. He really liked the skill system. So he really min-maxed those skills up a lot. Like, okay. And my third friend, he was all flavor. That's why I love my friends. They are kind of like the epitome of all three of lizard. They are literally. I'll have to go over the brains one day, but he was like, I want to do this thematically, so he kind of more thematically built each character, and they were completely different, even though they had the same pitch and the same idea. And I kind of saw there when I was looking at it, being like, across all of them, body was used a lot because body contributed a lot to health. Some of the skills kind of like never got picked. And I asked them, like, why didn't you pick this skill? Or why didn't you do this? And they were like, well, we just didn't think it'd be useful. I'm like, okay, let's see if we can change that. It's things like that. That's where playtesting comes in. And that's why I literally leave everything open for free for anyone to playtest all they want and tell me about it. And like that, I actively encourage people just to take it and run it, because if they take it and run it and they see something that breaks horribly, they can tell me all about it, and I will fix everything I can. Hell, that's how Monster Girl Adventures and Blood Coin and Steel got to where it is, because a lot of people playtested that. The Blood Coin and Steel playtest, when he told me about that, that went exactly the way I planned, and it was hysterical. He had a lot of fun with that. I was very happy when I heard about that, because it did exactly what I only saw half a character sheet for them though, and it went kind of exactly how I planned it to look. So you win some, you lose some though. So thank you. That was my TED talk on game design. So yeah, that's Nova and company. Am I a fan of Nova? Am I going to be like, yeah, everybody, let's play Nova now. Let's play Nova. No. I think this would be like a fun like $10 game, maybe like a $5-10 game. For $20 though, for $20, fuck no. Do not buy this game for $20. This is not worth $20 fucking dollars. Like, I kind of get the idea of like why it is $20 though. Like, here's the thing, I understand why, because it's very pretty. I'm gonna say that it's pretty. Like, you got like, oh look everybody, it's your favorite Warframe, or hey everybody, like the fact that every single like Spark has its own like color schemes, and it has its own like, these things are not cheap to do. Like formatting and shit like this is not cheap. This takes time, and people need to get paid, or people want to get paid for this. And I think he was also trying to make Nova like his big thing. Like, this is the next big Lumen project, and it's going to be great. If you kind of look at it like that, I'm like, yeah, I guess, like, yeah, that's why we're charging $20 for it. But it's like, is it worth 20? Is Nova objectively worth $20? I don't think so. I think right now, I don't think Nova is worth 20 USD. Maybe with like a few of the expansion packs coming out that people are making for him, maybe. But each of those costs two to $5. So it's like, why would I choose that? Like, why would I choose to pick a thing that, because mind you, people are making Sparks. That's what they're making. They're making this. Like, this is what they're making. They're charging $2 to $5 for one of these, which is like, oh, that's yeah. So if you approach it like that, I don't think it's worth it as much. I honestly don't think it's that worth. If you go under the impression, if you choose the impression that it is a like supplement for Nova, like Legendary Spark, like if you choose to do this, then maybe, but then it's like, this is a $4 game for a 155 kilobyte document, and unlock powers and modifications, dividing your own components, new mission prompts, like a framework, framework for guidelines for creating new elite enemies. Like, is that worth $4 on top of the $20? No. Is like, you know, it's like, oh, the Canis, a new spark. Oh boy, a new spark, everybody. Like, what does the Canis do? Oh. Oh, add plain text, no fill, printer friendly version, completely free. Oh. Oh. Hmm. What's the point? Like that's my thing. It's like $2. You know, it's money for something that you already have to buy. Again, if Nova was like $10, maybe I could justify it. But like $20, I'm not gonna tell you to go out of your way to fucking buy this game, unless you love Nova. Unless you're like, Nova's the greatest thing in the best thing I've ever seen. Oh my god. If you're like that, then it's like, cool, yeah, go for it. But if you're not thinking that, don't do it. Please. So, I'm gonna call it there. I'm going to I'm gonna rest for a moment because my throat is killing me currently. And yeah, we will begin continue our descent into madness on Monday. And with our descent into madness, we are going to hopefully begin at least kicking our way through the latter half of the Necronica game. So thank you all. Godspeed, good luck, and I will catch you all on Monday.